There we go, Coach.
What's up?
That's a nice looking background you got there behind you.
It's not bad. Zach's coming through this time.
This time.
This time.
All right, let's kick it off, man. Welcome in, and we haven't talked to you in a couple weeks at least since the end of spring ball. Spring portal has I don't want to say come and gone completely, but you guys have done your heavy lifting in the spring portal. Now you get settled in to build towards the summer and camp higher ground. What's the vibe around the office? Does it feel like, you know, your roster is where you want it and everything's pushing forward?
Yeah, I think right now our guys have been gone for a couple of weeks. This is the break they get. The biggest break they get throughout the whole year is, the first part of May. We're going to get them all back in here. We're starting Monday, the 19th. So, yeah, I feel like our roster is, a lot of the things that we needed to get done, we were able to do. And particularly, getting our big tackle, Joe Cotton, getting him in here. I think that was obviously a huge get for us. Offensively, probably the last piece of the puzzle that we really needed. Created a little bit more depth with another wide receiver and then another linebacker. So there were not a ton of needs that we had, but we were able to meet those needs.
We haven't talked about Joe Cotton. Give us a little rundown on him. I know you guys acted quick on that one, got him in here right as soon as the portal opened and didn't let him leave without a commitment. It's always the critical part in portal recruiting, right? You get a kid on campus, you got to make sure you get it done before they go fly off somewhere else.
Yeah, for us, that was certainly a big need, getting a big tackle, certainly a guy who has great length. He came in, his measurements were, somewhere around 6'7", around 320, and really looked good. He's a guy who grew up playing soccer, so he's got great feet. And then just kind of grew it into his body. With that kind of length, it's hard to run around him as a pass protector, but he also will come off the ball and do a great job in the run blocking. So it's just a really good fit. He's a great family, blue collar family. So he fits everything that we're trying to do within, our program. And I think, we had some guys, I know, but now we could create a little bit more depth for ourselves at that tackle position. And, we all know that, you want to have that blind side block guy there for the quarterback, for Sorsby to be a great player. And so we feel like, man, he's going to be a really good player for us. Going throughout the spring, was really pleased with a lot of the positions. We really helped ourselves at wide receiver to bring in, some guys that can really run. Also, Tyree Walker, I thought, had a great spring. Some of the things that he was able to do, he showed some great burst, as well as having a great size. Evan Pryor, I thought, man, he's really elevated his game also and had a really good spring. And then tight end room, I thought, the two freshmen that we signed last year have really stepped their game up. I think they're going to give us some great depth there at tight end along with Joe. And so I think just offensively really, really where we need to be. And I think, and now Sorsby, another year in the system. I know that he felt a lot more comfortable this spring, playing with a lot of confidence. So hopefully he's going to have a huge year for us.
You guys had an injury on the defensive line in spring practice, and then you add multiple guys in the spring portal. Did you kind of look at last season's situation and say, okay, look, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again, and we're going to kind of stockpile as much depth as possible?
Yeah, I think about, we think about the guys up front, O-line and D-line, if you don't have enough guys there, it's hard to manufacture those guys. You don't have a bunch of, 280, 90, 300-pound guys on your roster. You're just going to be screwed, quite honestly. You're not going to have the depth that you need. It really hurt us last year, essentially losing a couple of guys before we even start playing. And, we felt like, let's get us some depth there. Let's get us some bodies in here that can really come in and help us. And we can rotate some guys. We can keep them fresh up front. And hopefully there's not much drop off from the starters down to the second team guys or third team guys. Those guys, really trying to wear down the offensive line up front. And I think that's going to be big for us as we go throughout this summer. You mentioned Cam Rutherford, a guy who got injured and will not be able to be available this year. But I think obviously getting Dante back for another year is huge. Marquez Parker had a great spring. He's up to about 285 pounds. He plays a great twitch, and he can really move. And Hunt's a guy who's a 300-pounder that we missed last year that I think can be a huge addition to us this year. Obviously, he's got to stay healthy throughout, the summer and into spring camp. But, it all starts up front. If we can create those guys and mismatches up front and allow our linebackers to run and make plays, I really feel really good about our linebacker room, with about 6 or 7 guys that can play. And, so that's really going to help us. And then I think in the secondary, we added some guys back there at safety. We moved Logan Wilson over to corner. McDoom's coming in at corner, so I really feel like that room in the back end has gotten a lot better as well. And also have some depth that we'll be able to rotate some guys back there.
You've had some time now with some of the guys transferring in. Christian Harrison has emerged as quite a leader from all accounts. Everything we've heard about him is he has fit the bill as being the son of an NFL player. Can you tell us a little bit more about how much he's meant to this secondary at this point?
Yeah. I think probably the biggest thing for him is just being a really good football player. Like, he understands the game. He understands, where he needs to be at within the defense. He can look at the offense and get a good idea about what they're getting ready to run. I just think he's got a good awareness, and but he's also got playmaking ability. He's a guy who can come up and pull his trigger when he's trying to stop the run. But he also understands where he needs to be in the passing game, and I think he's very versatile. I mean, he's a guy that can play 2 or 3 different spots back there in the back end, and that creates a lot of versatility, with our defense for him, and for us to be able to put the best 11 on the field. And I think he's certainly will be a guy who will be in the mix out there and give us really help us out. I mean, I think in a lot of different avenues, whether it be the star position, the free safety, or the strong safety position, and. I think he's a quiet guy. He doesn't say a whole lot, but he works hard. I think he does a lot of that stuff by example and going out and working in the weight room and on the field in practice. And then it's showing up whenever it's 11 on 11.
Coaches generally work from inside their own tree when they're hiring. You had a connection to Tyson Vite, but it didn't seem like you and Tyson Vite had a long-term history.
Yeah.
So him coming in last year was kind of new. How different is that relationship now in year 2, where you've gotten to work with him for a year, you've seen his defense, his tendencies? From the outside looking in, I love the guy. He's amazing.
Yeah, no, I think it's been awesome to have Tyson here. His style of coaching is different than my style, which is awesome. I love that. He brings some great intensity on that side of the ball for the defensive side. He knows what he wants in that room, and it's been a really good mesh here in our program. And I love what he's doing on that side. I mean, defensively, I think, man, I'm so excited having the same coordinator for 2 years in a row now. We hadn't had that here at Cincinnati in a while. We're able to pick up where we left off last year, and kind of build off of that this spring as we head into the summer. And, I feel like these guys, especially the guys that were here last year, have so much more understanding of what we're trying to do defensively. And I feel like this spring we're able to do a lot more. Last year, if you go back and watch our defense, we didn't do a whole lot. We basically played our base defense probably 90% of the time. I feel like this year we're going to be able to be a little bit more multiple and bring, show some different things. And I think that's going to help us. But no, Tyson's been awesome for us. He brings, just a great, like I said, a great deal of intensity on that side of the ball. And our guys like playing for him. And, I think certainly we're going to take another step forward. I mean, we took a step forward last year. I think we were 6 or 7 points better per game last year. And I think we're going to make another jump again this year. And that's certainly going to give us a great chance to compete for the Big 12.
Hypothetically speaking, this is pure hypothetical, Coach. You said potentially special teams by committee. If something were to change and you were to bring in a special teams coordinator, hypothetically, what would have changed to make you go that route?
Well, I thought let's get through the spring and let's see where we're at with it. And so, we obviously got through our 15 practices and just, again, evaluating our program. I just felt like for us, in order to be the best team we can possibly be, is to go out and let's go look and see what's out there. That we could possibly bring in a guy that will come in and oversee the teams, but also utilizing our staff. And because I really believe that's very valuable to utilize your staff. Not all the staff like our coordinators, quarterback coach, O-line coach, they're not really involved with special teams, but the other guys are, the corners coach, safeties and linebackers and tight end coaches, they're going to be more involved in our special teams. But having somebody just, sitting there every day, they're looking at the special teams. They're looking at our roster, which guys can best help us in the teams, and scheme-wise, what can best give us the best chance to go out and gain some yards. Field position's huge for us. Last year, the second half of the season, that was one of the things that we just lost the field position in the second half of the season. And you guys see it. I mean, the margins are so tight in this league. If you can gain a little bit here or there, and especially in the teams, then it's going to give you a chance and an opportunity to go win some games. And so, I think that's something that we're certainly looking at, potentially, getting a guy to come in and oversee that.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, of course.
You mentioned Brennan Sorsby kind of going from year 1 to year 2. And when I talked to Coach Thomas, he said from that year 1 to year 2 jump, you go from taking football 101 classes to kind of graduate level classes. So in your experience, both as a player, as a coach, kind of coaching these guys, what can guys focus on and really develop in year 2 that they can't really do in year 1, or they can't really have that focus?
Yeah, I think like for where he's at, where Brendan's at now, is that I think at times last year, and we all saw it, he tried to do a little too much at times. And I think once you get comfortable within a system and you feel really good about it and you understand, the overall arching theme of the system, then you can be a little bit more poised in your decision making, meaning I don't have to force the ball every time. I don't have to, let's say we call a shot play. Well, maybe the defense, had that thing defended. It's not going to be there. Let me just hit my check down right here. Like that maturity and that poise comes from experience. And I think that's something that that Brendan can certainly grow and get better at. But I do think it's in his nature just to be aggressive. I think a lot of times where he wants to try to get it in, and he's got the arm to do it. He's got the arm talent to push the ball down the field. But at times, hey man, you got to take what the defense gives you. And that's something we're constantly working on. And I think we can constantly get better and at that. To say, hey, dumping the ball off to an Evan Pryor, for a little 4-yard pass play, that may turn into an 80-yard touchdown, because of the talent that he has. So let's certainly don't just, forget about that. We have to be able to hit that. So for him, that's something I think he can get better at. And I thought he did this spring. I think he can continue to get better at that throughout the fall. Because we all know he had the ability. I mean, go back at the Texas Tech game. I mean, shoot, man, we threw for over 400 yards. I mean, we lit it up against their defense, and it gave us an opportunity in that game on the road to go out and get that win. So, but we also seen the other side of that, with the West Virginia game where we're trying to do too much, and then we, turn the ball over. So, again, these possessions are so critical. We have to take care of the football, but a lot of that comes back to the quarterback. And I do believe that we have some great weapons around him this year that I think, some big play threat guys, Cyrus Allen, Caleb Goody are some new guys. Of course, Evan Pryor, I think Tyree Walker, Joe Royer. I mean, we got some weapons out here that we can get the ball to, that those guys can make plays. They can keep the chains moving and give us another opportunity to go score. And so I think Brendan's just got to play within himself, and I think he's got enough talent that he's going to make those plays. He's going to make a lot of plays that if he'll just play within himself.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, we've talked to Coach Nico about how much input he had in the indoor practice facility and how excited he is about it opening up. How much input have you had in the course of this whole construction, and how excited are you that we're just some days away now from the grand opening of the IPF?
Well, I mean, for me, just even coming over here, taking the job, that was a huge piece. I mean, John Cunningham talked about the building of that. That had been approved. They were in this thing. And as soon as I got here, really, we started looking at plans, immediately to say, if we want to tweak it here, tweak this there. I thought the architects did a great job with the building and the flow of the building, and then having been over there a bunch over the last 2 years, going over there and kind of walking through things, you get a sense and a feel for how big a room is. And they did an outstanding job. And so we've been able to, along the way, just tweak a few things here and there and try to enhance the building. And but it's incredible. I mean, it really is. It's, the way that we're going to be able to, continue to enhance our team and our players, because that's really, there's so many things in it that are going to make the players better. There's so many things in it that are going to help their recovery, because we all know that, hey, they train hard these days, and They got to be able to come back the next day and train at 100%. Well, in order to do that, you have to recover properly. And we got so many apparatus things and so many different things in the training room, the weight room, the red light therapy. There's so many things that I've never even heard of. I'm like, hope that stuff, work. But I think us staff, we're going to try it out first. We're going to get in there and as soon as we get in the building and jump in there and try all those things out. But it's incredible. The way they finished the building out with the graphics, CPAWs, Cincinnati, are going to be all over the building. It's really, really a beautiful building. They did a great job with it.
I think when we did a run through of it, I think this is probably during basketball season, they told us about this kind of car wash thing that they have.
Yeah.
It's where the players just run through it and then it like washes off all the pellets. What part of this whole thing is going to be your favorite part of it? Because that was the most interesting thing to me, that you kind of
that was interesting.
like cars.
Yeah. No, I walked through it the other day and I didn't realize, but there's, they have them around the knee level and when you're walking through, and then it's around shoulder level, but they also have showers up top. So you walk through this thing, you're going to get it from all sides. And at some point when we walk through it, I'm sure we're going to get wet with it. But yeah, that's an awesome feature that, obviously designed to get the pellets off before they get into the cold tubs or, hot water tubs and all that. So, but I think, for me, I love there's so much glass in this building.
Yeah.
Like if you're standing in the indoor looking back at the building, the whole wall of glass. And so you're able to see everything that's going on out on the field. And then the way we're going to have connection with our guys is what I love about it. I mean, there's 3 levels there. And, as coaches and staff members, we're all going to be all in this thing together. And I love the fact that we're going to be able to hang out. We'll go down to the players' lounge and there's couches, there's TVs, there's going to be a pool table, there's some stuff like that. I just think being connected, just so many conversations strike up, not about football, that we're going to be able to have. And you just get to know the people on a personal level so much more. And I think anytime you have that the players they want to lay everything out on the line when they're on a football field, when they have that big time connection, not only with their teammates, but also the staff. And I think that's what I'm most excited about, because we're in this building now. We're up on the 7th floor, the weight room's on the 1st. I mean, we're so spread out here that I like that connection is going to be the best thing for me.
A question I think a lot of people have in the chat, is it going to change anything with higher ground?
Yeah, we're still going to go out to higher ground. I do think it's, I don't. It's going to be hard for me to want to leave that building. I mean, quite honestly, you have everything that you ever need and want right there. But it is a great tradition to go out to higher ground, and the people at higher ground, they treat our guys, man, as good as you can treat anybody. The way they feed us, and we do have great space out there. You're able to, 2 practice fields and all the meeting space that we have. And so we're certainly going to go out there, we're going to, it's yet to be determined how long we stay, but we're certainly going to go out there, and spend some time at higher ground, and because it is a great time of bonding, having your guys out there. And so, and obviously a great tradition. And, but it's going to be hard to leave that building, and we want to get back in it probably pretty quickly, I'm sure. And, just for the things that I mentioned, when you're going through a training camp, you have to get your bodies ready the next day, and all the things that we do have in that building to get those guys ready to go, I think is something that we have to take advantage of.
I'm glad you brought up the food, because that is one thing that higher ground has that you do not have at the IPF. That food is unreal.
No, we don't know that, Aaron. They got a kitchen in that place.
We do. We're gonna.
It's not higher ground.
It's not. Yeah, I think it's the love that they put into the making of food at higher ground that makes it so good, man. They got a lot of it out there too. They just keep putting it on you. So yeah, they're great out there, and that is one of the things that I look forward to is going to eat in the cafeteria there.
Yeah, the IPF probably won't have bacon in the ranch dressing. I think that's the most important part that Chad likes.
I mean, look, you put bacon in ranch. Coach is from the South. He knows.
Oh, yeah. Bacon in everything, Chad.
We never went Bearcat 101. We never went through with the Bearcat Journal storage closet. We came close on that, but there was a $5,000 price tag to put the BCJ logo on a storage closet, and I didn't pull the trigger. But there's still got to be a time, right?
You still got some time for that, yeah. Still got some time for that.
We should put the logo on the storage closet in the basement. When you look at success in 2025, year 3, it's not as simple as make a bowl game, right? It's bigger than that, right? The picture's bigger than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, we obviously want to continue to grow and climb and do better as we head into year 3 of the Big 12. And we all know what's happened in the first year and the second year, and made progress last year. But we got to continue to make progress. You know, I'm excited about this team. I think we have a lot of pieces of the puzzle that we need. I think as far as the coaching staff goes, but also the players, I think, man, we've done so many great things over the last year, and the things that we've added to our roster, and also, you know, what we're doing. Like I mentioned, we mentioned the new facility. So, and now year 3 in the Big 12. I mean, we all know how tough the Big 12 is. It's challenging. You know, for us this year, it's great. We got 7 home games, you know, that we're going to be playing right here in Cincinnati. We got a game that's a neutral site playing against a great team in Nebraska, you know, and then 4 tough road games in the Big 12. You know, you go to Utah, you go to TCU, Oklahoma State, Kansas. I mean, these are all really good football teams, good coaching staffs, you know, and you got to continue to take it one game at a time. And the thing that we got to do a much better job that we haven't done in the first 2 years is the close games. We got to get on top of these close games. I mean, you know, we have struggled in the one possession games the first 2 seasons, and a lot of that's coming down to 1 play, 2 plays, whatever it may be. The fine margins, and that's where we got to get better. You know, we got to be a more disciplined team. You know, and I think for us in all 3 phases, and special teams is a huge part of that, you know, of how we can overcome and win those close games. And I think that's got to be the focus this year. And I think we can do that. Then we can have a special year. I mean, we really can. We all know how this league is. You know, we beat a team at Arizona State that really went to the playoffs, you know, so, you know, it tells you you're kind of right there. And also you got to stay healthy. We know that, you know, and when you're playing these teams, you know, those games on the road or these games at home, you want to have all your bullets. You want to have all your guys there to be able to go out and compete against these guys. And so that'll play a big part in it as well.
I was to give you before. Go ahead, Aaron.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
If I was to give you the opportunity to offer a rebuttal to Coach Matt Rule and Nebraska in the Big 10, would you take that opportunity to give anything back?
Well, you're saying that what he said, the Big Ten's better.
Yeah.
Than
everybody.
Than everybody else. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's certainly, you know, he's in the Big Ten, so he's going to try to pump his conference up, you know. But I think, you know, there's some good football there, but to me, there's good football everywhere. I mean, I really believe that there's a few teams out there that we've seen in this era of spending money that have spent a lot of money on their rosters. You know, the Ohio States, the Oregons, you know, Texas Tech this past semester. I mean, you know, so that those teams that have done that, but I think the parity in throughout the country, and I don't care what, you know, if you're SEC, ACC, whatever, Big 12, you know, I mean, Texas spent as much money as anybody, you know, and Arizona State, in my opinion, really should have won that game last year, you know, if it wasn't for that last little touchdown pass. So, I mean, I feel like the Big 12 can compete with any league out there, can compete with a Big 10, certainly can compete with the SEC. I mean, you know, so it's just a matter of now we got to go prove it. We got to go prove it on the game, you know, when we play them. And I think, you know, we're looking forward to the game against Nebraska. You know, certainly a good measuring stick for our team and in our league, really, quite honestly, you know, when we go play teams like that. So, you know, yeah, I'm just looking forward to going to play them. You know, I think it's a great opportunity, and now you're playing them at a neutral site, you know, like Arrowhead, and I think it's going to be an awesome game and playing on Thursday night. And so it's a great way to kick off the season.
I think one of the great advantages that you have that doesn't get talked about enough is getting talked about more this offseason. Aaron Hemler, trainer of the year in the state of Ohio. Now your entire training staff wins best staff in the Big 12. What has it been like working with this group? And how does that compare to other places you've been? Because they're all I know, but they're phenomenal.
Yeah, they are. No, they are outstanding. You know, Aaron, you know, when I got here, Aaron was here, Michelle was here. You know, they've done an outstanding job. They're great to work with. You know, you have to have, you know, great communication between your training staff, your strength staff, and your football staff, obviously trying to work with our athletes. And we got a great working relationship. And Coach Nico and his guys and his staff working with Aaron and his staff. I thought he did a great job of going hand in hand, of trying to get our guys back, all the while, protecting our guys. And I think there's obviously a fine line there, because in football, you're going to be hurt. There's going to be things that are going to be wrong with you. But they do a great job of pushing the guys through when they need to, but also holding back. Hey, listen, we got to get this thing fixed or healed up before we get you back out. And it's just a great communication. And I also, and our guys know this, they have their best interest at heart. And I think Aaron and Coach Nico and those guys, they're going to look after our athletes first and foremost. And I think that's why they stand apart. I've been a part of a lot of great trainers throughout my career. I would put Aaron Himmer up at the top of the list. Matt Summers was with me at Louisville. He's at the Bengals now. I think Matt Summers is outstanding. I think Aaron is right there, if not better. I think, I've been very fortunate to be a part of those two guys that are outstanding. But Aaron, again, he deserves the accolades that he gets. A lot of times those guys go unnoticed and people don't talk about him. And I'm glad he is getting some notoriety out there the last year, because it's well deserved.
And you don't have to deal with Bob.
I just see Bob in the elevator every now and again going up and down. So, yeah.
He's probably grumpy about something. He's always grumpy about something.
Oh, yeah. He kind of looks that way to me. He's always been nice.
You guys got anything else?
I had one last thing, if Coach is willing, but you kind of talked about Nebraska in that game. And,
Yeah.
a lot of coaches are very open that they like to start the season off easy, kind of like what you guys have done the last 2 years. What are the benefits of starting the season with a game like that, like at a neutral site against a really good team?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you certainly want to be hitting on all your cylinders when you start a first game. There's not going to be much room for error. I think it's interesting to me as you come out of fall camp, the August camp, some coaches really push them hard, and it's a really physical camp, and you get some guys dinged up and beat up. Some guys maybe a little bit more finesse. I mean, it's interesting to listen and hear about how they go through camp. And I think because a lot of that determines how you play that first game,
Mm-hmm.
And I think because you want to have all you guys there, you want to be healthy, but you also want to have made it hard in August because knowing that you have a tough opponent. Because I know Nebraska's big, strong, they're going to be physical. So, I mean, yeah, we're going to have that kind of camp, but you also want to get through it. So you got all your guys there. So it's going to be a fine line there with that. But I like starting out with certainly a game like this because of that reason. Everything that you do throughout the summer, I mean, you can't half-ass it. I mean, you got to be a full, focus, and your preparation's got to be key. And you got to be hitting on all cylinders. Now, here's the interesting thing: like when you do play a first game, particularly when they have new coordinators, Nebraska's got 3 new coordinators: offense, defense, and special teams. And so now they hadn't really put much on film, with the Nebraska squad, and they have other places where they've been, but now you really have to go back and try to guess a little bit about what they're going to do. And I think part of that's why, Coach Rule didn't want to put anything out there in the spring game and all that, trying to hide, players and scheme and all this and that, so I think that was part of it as well, because you do have some new coordinators that are going to be in there. So that'll be interesting, once you start playing the game.
Excited to play in Arrowhead?
Yeah, I've never been there. I understand obviously you see the playoff games there when the Chiefs are playing, and the Bengals went there and won, so there's a team from Cincinnati that went there ahead and won. So hopefully we can do the same thing.
Keegan and I drove past it. We went to Allen Fieldhouse, went for the first UC game at Kansas. So on our way there, we drove past it. So that's our
awesome.
Well, now we're going to both of them this year. So